Good morning everybody, my name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's still morning. Alexa, what's the time please?
It's 11:56 a.m.
So it's 11:56 a.m. on Tuesday morning. It's nearly lunchtime. I've got a Fray Bentos steak and kidney pie I'm going to cook in the oven a bit later on. So Alexa, what's the date today please?
Today is Tuesday the 11th of February.
Alexa, good morning.
Good morning, and happy birthday to Jennifer Aniston. Let's hope she's celebrating with friends.
So it's Jennifer Aniston's birthday today. Jennifer Aniston. Not Jennifer Lopez. So Alexa, how old is Jennifer Aniston?
Jennifer Aniston is 56 years old.
She's the same age as myself. Jennifer Aniston, lady who starred in Friends. So it's been a really strange couple of weeks. Ever since I reported these two guys to the police, really, that were verbally abusing me outside a shop I went into. So I reported this to the police 2 Thursdays ago. They sent me a number. It was the police that gave me the number for victim support. And I'd spoken to a lady before off of victim support who just gave me a bit of counselling over the phone. She just talked to me on the phone. It was a woman. So this is a bit different this time round, or is it? I don't know what's really going to happen. I've been sent some links which I'm going to look up later on, because I got in contact with victim support after a battle of trying to actually get through and pick up this call, which it wasn't ringing. Whenever I got a call from victim support, the phone didn't ring. Every other call was ringing, but every ring from this number wasn't ringing. So I've had to go through all my settings and see what's going on. And I eventually got to speak to a gentleman, a man, who said, Crystal, I need to take some more details off of you. And he asked me for my full address. He asked me for my full address in case they needed to send something out to me. Now this is where it gets weird as well. So it was me on the phone to victim support. I'm a woman. I was approached by, well, it was 3 men in a shop 2 weeks ago. Reported it to the police, got a crime number, and I got the victim support number. So eventually this guy calls me back and he says, I need to get some more details about you. Me. And I have to go through extremely personal things that are upsetting nature to myself and relive it all, just so that he gets the gist of what's going on. And I'm thinking, for God's sake, don't, I'm going to speak about what's happened. Don't start recreating it outside, because I'm not feeling in the mood for it. And it's painful and it's upsetting. It's not fucking funny. Half these people that laugh at myself wouldn't be standing after what I've gone through. They've got no idea. They're fucking children. They don't understand what it's like to feel like I feel, getting up every day after what I've been through, and my mother. And you just get groups of idiots that haven't even lived enough to know what life is like, taking the fucking piss. And TikTok is rife with it. I went in it today, the application TikTok. Oh, the trolls are trying to get rid of me. How many people are the trolls trying to get rid of, and who are they, and why isn't anybody doing anything about them? Why don't bloody social media apps make people give their identity online so that we know who we are talking to and if they're genuine or not. It can't be that difficult to regulate and make sure people have a real photograph of themselves and true identity, so that if they're going to go around hating on people, wishing people dead like some of them do, that the police can actually get hold of them instead of a fake profile picture. That's what we need. Everybody that uses a social media app to provide identification, real identification, not somebody else's, because this is not going to stop, is it? It's going to get worse. And how many people do end their life because of trolls and bullies? And they're not worth it. They're pathetic. They hide in the distance. They hide behind trees. They hide because they don't want you to see their face. Those two lads that started on me, yeah, I saw their face close up. It wasn't pretty. And when I got the camera out, they fucking ran off. They ran. So that if you put a hood over your head, that means, and you run off, that means you're doing wrong in the first place. And if you weren't ashamed of what you were doing, then why put a hood over your fucking head? So clearly they were in the wrong and they were up to something, otherwise they wouldn't have run off with a hood over their head, would they? People cover themselves up to hide what they're doing and hide their face. They're not proud of what they're doing, otherwise they would have stayed there and let me film it, wouldn't they? Filming outside is public place. If you choose to abuse somebody outside, you're doing it in a public place, and I'm going to have my camera out there, right? It's public. Can't do anything about it. There's cameras in this building. There's one in the lift. Kids get into the lift. There's a camera in the lift. There's two cameras in the hallway. So don't use that excuse. If you are outside, right, you're in a public space and everybody can see what you're doing anyway. And if you're doing something shifty, that's not my problem. So I get through to this guy and I'm going through what's gone on, and he's just talking like a bloke off of TikTok. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. It's like my bank when I get through to my bank. Oh, bless you. Oh, really? Has that happened? Bless you. It's all fake. To me, they're actors. And who the fucking hell is controlling my finances? That's what I'm worried about, because I've got hardly anything to fucking live on. I haven't. And my mother, well, she's in a terrible state right now. And I've said again, Mum, do you want me to get in touch with social services? No, no, no. What can I do? I can't force somebody, can I? I can't force her. While she's able-bodied and she can do things, she doesn't want me to interfere. So when do you actually interfere and say, look, you can't go on like this, you need some help? Because these dickheads are just laughing. They think it's funny. So this guy says to me, have you been to the doctor? I went, yeah. You know what it's like. I can't get a bloody doctor. I get told to go to the chemist. The bloody chemist. I'm sure a chemist wants to know all of the ins and outs of how I need counselling, help and support, when it's a chemist that gives you fucking sting cream for a sting, boil cream for a boil, and doesn't have a clue about mental health issues. getting pissed off and fed up, going round and round in bloody circles. Then he said he's going to send me some links. I'm going to get a support worker, but it's going to be a woman, a female. I don't know what the fuck he's got going on, because I've just had somebody else's mail to my address. A bloke's mail to my address, yeah? What the fuck is going on? I'm a woman, I asked for a male counsellor. I'm now told I can't get a male counsellor, it's got to be a woman worker. And I've got a bloke's post coming to my address. After giving this guy my address, I get a man's mail sent to my address. Can you tell me what the fuck is going on? What's going on? I give out my full address over the phone and I've got some bloke's post come to my address. A man's post with my address on it. It's annoying me. I don't know what's going on. There's something really, really fishy going on here. So, yeah, I just had a guy ring my buzzer for a parcel. It's addressed to me, but it's not mine. What the effing fuck? After I give this guy over the phone my full address. Is that some kind of pissing joke, is it? Who are these people I'm talking to? Okie dokie. Sorry, Crystal, I can't get you a male support worker. It'll have to be a female. And I get a bloke's mail sent to my address just afterwards. That's a bit weird. I goes out after that phone call. There's a woman in a car with glasses, just sat there in a car. I don't know whether it's going to reverse back into me or not. There's a great fucking taxi up the top of the road by the Travel Lodge with two foreign guys chatting to each other. Of course, my mum, she's not well. She needs help and support. She's not well. She's just left me an answer phone message, and I'm not going to go into details about it, but she's got a stomach issue, a problem with her stomach, and she's been sorting it out for about an hour, and I can't go up there. She's asking about Charlotte. Where is Charlotte? Because my mum hasn't got any shopping. I don't know what's going on. She said she hasn't heard from Charlotte for ages. That's my niece, and she helps my mum do her shopping. I don't get anybody to do my shopping. I don't have any workers at the moment. Now, this worker is supposed to be getting in touch within 5 days. So I've still got to get through this week myself. I've spoke to my mum. I said to her, do you want me to get social services involved? No. So it's crazy. She needs help and support. In the meantime, I'm going outside and getting twats. It's fucking funny, right? It's really funny. Everything's funny. When the sky falls down and Judgment Day comes, they'll all be laughing their fucking socks and pants off. Seriously, these people are so fucking thick. They'd laugh if the fucking world was caving in. I ain't got time for people that fucking laugh at stupid things. Alexa, LBC Radio.
LBC London from Global Player.
Liz Truss almost cosplaying as Margaret Thatcher in the type of blouse that she wore and the sort of suits that she wore during the course of that election. Have we ever escaped Margaret Thatcher's leadership in a way? Have we ever escaped her shadow? And should it be the time for the Conservative Party to finally move on? 0345 6060 973 0345 6060 973. What are the lessons we can draw in British politics today from her extraordinary period in office? Someone who knew her well, of course, is Lord Chris Patten, former governor of Hong Kong. But before that was Environment Secretary under Margaret Thatcher. Lord Patten, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Maybe we could just go back to your earliest memories of her. Do you remember the first time you met?
Yes, I do. It was while I was a young researcher in the Conservative Research Department that she was then the opposition spokesperson on pensions, a job she'd had in government. And I remember her coming into the office to talk to our pensions expert. And he had a whooping voice, and she had a rather shrill voice until it was corrected by Gordon Roos and I think Gordon Rees and Laurence Olivier. So listening to them in the office talking was rather like a strange operatic duet. She was absolutely on top of all detail, and a couple of things which aren't often said about her was that while she sounded dogmatic, in practice she wasn't as dogmatic as she usually sounded, and usually recognised that some fights weren't worth having. And I think she got very badly scarred by the milk snatcher stuff, which was imposed on her by the Treasury, and she never really wanted to do it. She couldn't understand why the Labour Party made such a fuss about it, because they'd taken milk away from secondary school pupils. Secondly, she was incredibly kind personally. I never saw her be rude to somebody like a driver, a waitress, a lift person, and one of our kids when we were younger, and she was 2, got badly burned in an accident at home, and Margaret was extraordinarily generous about it. Every year at the party conference, our daughter's birthday was on October the 14th, and Margaret had been on the 13th, and every year she'd get presented with a cake on the 13th, which she would probably give us to give to our daughter on the 14th. She was a nice human being, and I think a lot of the things which are said about her, which suggest that she was a completely dogmatic and hard-faced, are just not true. The truth about people who say they, or claim to be the next Thatcher, just aren't up to it. I mean, even if their view of Thatcher was a correct one, the most important thing that she did, and the reason why, to go back to your interesting remarks about the length of her shadow, the most important thing that she did was to save Britain from relative economic decline, becoming absolute economic decline. Jim Callaghan, who was Chancellor of the Exchequer and then Prime Minister before her until 1979, when he bogged up winning the election, which she benefited from. Jim Callaghan said in the 1970s that if he was a young person, he'd emigrate. And he also said that he thought that parliamentary democracy was under threat because of our economic weakness. And what she did, I think, was to, sometimes making mistakes, but by and large, what happened was really significant and important, was to prevent relative decline turning into absolute decline, and she made Britain governable again. And when you think about it, one of her main achievements was, I suppose, Tony Blair, and the way the Labour Party moved back into the world of the same. I think she's a very considerable figure.
Sorry, look, you weren't in politics then, or you weren't in Parliament then, but I was saying before how extraordinary it must have seemed when she became Conservative leader. Do you remember her becoming Conservative leader 50 years
Yes, I do.
What you thought of it?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly. I'll tell you a story. When I was that stage the director of the Conservative Party Research Department, which I'd been given the job by Ted Heath, Ram Butler, who'd been in many respects the sort of father of the Conservative Research Department, the main shaper of Conservative policy in the years after the war, the 44 Education Act and so on. He was outrageously ambiguous and always ambivalent, if you get the difference. And he came to visit the research department, which had been his creation one day, at the beginning of that election campaign. And we were going up in the lift, a cranky old lift in the building we worked in. And he said to me, he was there in his black coat with turned up and his hat. He said to me, I don't suppose we need to take this Thatcher business seriously, do we? And I remember saying, you'd have to take it very seriously. Not least because the parliamentary party had got really fed up with Ted, and she was the only obvious alternative. Obvious increasingly because of her success in one or two parliamentary debates. She was, I think, retired, put in charge of some of the economics in opposition, and she made a terrific job of knocking spots off the Labour Party. So, yeah, I remember her at that time, and I also remember the extent to which she was patronised by the men around her, including some who obviously thought not only that they were a lot cleverer than she was, but a lot more capable of handling the difficult issues which were beyond that of a Finchley housewife.
What do you think has been her long-term legacy for the Conservative Party? You're glowing about her domestic legacy for the country, which some people would agree with and disagree with. We can talk about that later in the show. But in terms of her legacy to the Conservative Party, as I was saying, it is extraordinary, isn't it, in some ways, that so dominant has she been, long after her death now, never mind her actually being Prime Minister, that you still have Conservative leadership hopefuls trying to establish themselves in relation to her. I mean, it would be like Labour leadership hopefuls, still talking about whether they comparing themselves to Wilson or to Callaghan. Well, never.
Or Clem Attlee.
Well, quite.
No, I agree with you. And there's a worse aspect to it. Most of them are comparing themselves to a Thatcher who never existed, or who only existed in occasional headlines in the Daily Mail or Daily Telegraph, because she was far more pragmatic than people today suggest. The irony is she sounded more dogmatic when she was out of office than she'd ever been in office. And I think people seize on that. And I think the other aspect of her legacy is that people regarded her fall as being a consequence of disagreement with her over Europe. And they regarded her, I think, as the sort of princess in the tower who was destroyed by wicked barons. I think it was like that. I think far more important than Europe in her downfall was the poll tax, which I should know about.
You were in charge of it.
I was in charge. I didn't invent the bloody thing.
I think that's what they call a hospital pass.
It was a hospital pass with the whole of the opposition pack bearing down on you. And it all went back to campaigning in 1979, that's no earlier.
Against the Reds.
Yeah, when she was pressurised by colleagues into promising both a fixed rate for mortgages in order to win over homeowners and a complete reform of the domestic rating system. And then some very clever people came up with the poll tax, which was, of course, the most unpopular single policy any group of politicians have ever come up with.
I can't. That's obviously an anachronism in one sense, Will Patton, but I can't resist asking you, what do you think she would make of Donald Trump?
I don't think she would have either been so unwise as to call him rude letters before he won rude things before she won an election, nor would she be polishing his shoes now. I think she would have had a difficulty being too enthusiastic about somebody who, when he plainly lost an election, unleashed a mob to attack Parliament